Hey there, and welcome back to the deep dive. Quick question for you. Have you ever found yourself instinctively reaching for your phone the moment your alarm rings?
Oh, yeah.
Like already scrolling before you've even fully woken up?
Guilty.
Or maybe you grabbed just one innocent cookie only to glance down minutes later and realize, whoops, the entire row, maybe even five, have mysteriously vanished.
Happens to the best of us.
If that sounds familiar, don't worry, you are absolutely not broken. Actually, you're tapping into one of the most fundamental, um, incredibly efficient features of your brain.
Yeah, it's not a flaw at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually pretty amazing design when you think about it.
It really is profound design.
Oh, no.
Okay, let's unpack this.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is that these aren't random acts or, personal failings.
Right.
They are deeply ingrained, often unconscious processes that quietly orchestrate so much of our daily lives. Our mission for this deep dive is really to pull back the curtain on the science behind habits, why they stick so stubbornly, how these seemingly small automatic actions kind of build up and shape who you are.
Yeah, like the sum of our habits.
Exactly. And most importantly, the exciting part, you can absolutely reprogram your brain.
Okay.
You can actually get it to work for you, align with your goals rather than feeling like you're constantly fighting against its programming.
So if understanding how our brain operates is key, what's the big principle we need to get about how it works? Because honestly, my brain sometimes feels like it's just trying to, save energy constantly.
That's a really excellent observation, actually.
Yeah?
Because your brain, it operates on this profound principle of energy conservation.
Okay.
It's not really about being lazy in a bad way, but it's a master of optimizing energy, almost like a supercomputer designed to automate common tasks.
Right.
Just imagine for a second. What if you had to consciously, deliberately think through every single tiny action you do all day? Every step of brushing your teeth, right? Picking up the brush, squeezing the paste, the exact motion, or tying your shoes loop by loop, yet even just unlocking your phone. Picture the sheer mental energy.
No, I can feel the exhaustion just thinking about it.
Right. It would be debilitating. Your brain would be completely fried by like noon.
Exactly. Utterly overwhelming.
So to avoid that constant mental drain, your brain's developed this ingenious system. It creates what we call shortcuts.
Okay, shortcuts.
And these aren't just ideas, they're literal neural patterns or routines that get etched into your brain circuitry.
Wow.
And here's a really compelling statistic from studies that kind of highlights how widespread these are. Approximately 40% of our daily actions aren't conscious decisions at all.
40%.
Yeah, 40%. They're completely automatic. You're essentially running on autopilot for nearly half your waking hours.
That's kind of mind-blowing when you think about it.
It is. It's like having, a high-tech car, mostly on autopilot, handling the routine driving, leaving your mental energy free for the tricky parts.
Wait, for the unexpected stuff.
Exactly. This autopilot mode is your brain's clever, highly efficient way to save that precious energy for more complex, novel challenges.
40%. That means a huge chunk of who we are and what we do each day is just happening automatically.
Pretty much.
So understanding that automatic process, well, that seems like the absolute key to unlocking real change then.
It really is.
And what truly fascinates me about this, where the real power lies, I think, is getting that at the core of every single habit, good or bad. There's this consistent, predictable, three-part loop running things.
That's exactly right. And once you see this loop, you start spotting it everywhere. It's kind of cool, actually.
Okay, so break it down for us. What are the parts?
Okay, so let's break down each component of this fundamental habit loop using some simple, everyday examples. First, you have the trigger.
The trigger.
This is the cue, the prompt, the thing that kicks off the habit.
Right.
It could be something external, like, hearing your morning alarm blare.
Right, like clockwork.
Or it could be internal, maybe a feeling of boredom or stress, or even just a specific time of day can be a trigger.
Okay, so the alarm rings, or you feel that sudden pang of stress. What happens next? How does the brain respond?
Well, that trigger then leads directly to the second part of the loop, the routine.
The routine. Makes sense.
This is the actual behavior, the action you perform in response to that specific trigger. So following our alarm example, the alarm rings. Your routine might be immediately grabbing your phone and starting that aimless doom scroll through social media.
Yeah, I know that one.
Or if stress is the trigger, your routine might be opening the fridge and reaching for a snack.
Right. The go-to comfort action.
Exactly.
And then after that automatic routine comes the part your brain is really interested in, the thing that kind of seals the deal, right?
Precisely. The third, and you could argue the most crucial element, is the reward. The reward.
Okay, this is the positive feeling, the satisfaction, maybe that dopamine hit your brain gets after doing the routine.
Dopamine.
Yeah. With the doom scrolling, it might be a momentary sense of connection or distraction or just the stimulation of new info, a little dopamine hit, like the sources say, a feeling of satisfaction that your brain quickly learns to crave.
So the brain loves that feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It fundamentally seals the deal. It sends this powerful signal back like, hey, that sequence trigger routine reward that worked out pretty well, let's remember this for next time.
Got it.
And with consistent repetition, this loop just strengthens and deepens. It literally carves a clearer pathway in your neural networks. Neurons that fire together, wire together, right? Making the action almost automatic.
So it's like digging a groove in your brain.
Exactly. Think of it like a mental groove being etched deeper and deeper with each repetition. And over time, that habit becomes fully automatic. You don't even have to consciously think about it anymore. You just do it. So if I'm following this correctly, the reason those, let's say, less than ideal behaviors feel so stubborn, so sticky, it's because they've successfully run through this loop loads of times, carving those deep grooves in our brains.
What's a huge part of it? Yeah.
So what exactly makes them so incredibly resistant to change, even when we consciously know we want to stop? Like, why are bad habits so damn hard to break?
Yeah, that's a common question and totally valid.
Yeah.
It really gets to the core of why breaking bad habits feels so tough.
Right.
The concise answer, maybe overly simple but true, is they're easy and they feel good, at least, in the short term.
Easy and feel good. Okay.
But to dig a bit deeper, it's important to remember your brain isn't primarily focused on your long-term goals, like becoming super fit or mastering Spanish.
Its priorities are different.
Exactly. Its main priorities are much more primal: survival and immediate comfort. Let's take that specific example from the sources. Imagine you repeatedly grab a bag of chips every time you feel stressed.
Okay. Been there.
What your brain registers is a very direct cause and effect link. Stress goes down when salty crunch goes up. Got it. Simple. Effective in the moment.
Right. Problem solved temporarily.
Exactly. This seemingly simple connection gets hardwired. Your brain creates a direct link. Feeling bad equals chips. So the very next time stress hits, boom,
Wisdom for the bad.
you suddenly find yourself like elbow deep in a bag of chips, almost before you even consciously realize what just happened.
Wow, that automatic response.
Yeah. And this raises a really important question. If our brains are so good at wiring these automatic connections, how do we intentionally build connections that actually serve our long-term well-being?
Okay, that is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It sounds a bit like we're just at the mercy of these deep programs.
It can feel that way sometimes.
But here's the really good news, and something I want to immediately clarify. You can absolutely change your habits. You have agency here. And no, it doesn't take exactly 21 days to form a new one. That's such a persistent myth. And honestly, it can be pretty discouraging because it's just not universally true. It depends on the habit, the person.
Yeah, it varies wildly. Forget the magic number.
Right. So instead of chasing some mythical timeline, we're going to talk about simple science-backed strategies that really work to reprogram those loops.
Exactly. And these strategies, they leverage the very principles we just talked about. They're about working with your brain's design, not fighting against it.
Okay, I'm ready. Where do we start?
Let's start with the first essential step. Make the cue obvious. Remember, habits start with a trigger, a cue.
Right, the trigger.
So, to build a good habit, you need to make that trigger totally unmissable. Make it easy for your brain to remember.
Okay, how? Give me an example.
Sure, if you want to start journaling regularly, don't hide your notebook in a drawer somewhere. Leave it right on your pillow so you literally can't miss it before you go to bed each night.
Right there in your face.
Exactly. Or if your goal is drinking more water, don't keep your bottle tucked away in your bag all day. Put it prominently on your desk where it's always in your line of sight.
Makes sense.
The principle is super clear. Out of sight equals out of mind. In sight equals habit reminder. It's about designing your environment to give you that nudge.
I love that. Your environment becomes like a silent partner, constantly reminding you. Okay, so the cue is obvious. What's the next powerful strategy for actually making these new behaviors stick?
Building on making it obvious, the next powerful strategy is to make the routine ridiculously easy. like almost laughably easy.
Ridiculously easy.
Yeah. The biggest mistake people often make is trying to do way too much too soon. It feels overwhelming.
Like deciding to run a marathon next week when you haven't run in years.
Exactly. So if you've never meditated before, don't aim for 30 minutes right off the bat. That just sets you up for failure, probably. Instead, start with just 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Seriously.
Seriously. Literally, just sit down and breathe for 30 seconds. That's the whole routine to start. This approach is famously championed by habit researcher B.J. Fogg. He calls it the tiny habits method.
Tiny habits. I like it.
The whole idea is that these small wins signal to your brain, hey, look, this is totally doable. And that little achievement builds crucial momentum and confidence. It makes it way easier to scale up later. It's all about building consistency before you worry about intensity.
Consistency before intensity. I love that phrase. It really takes the pressure off, doesn't it? Turns this huge thing into something small and achievable. Okay, so we have tiny, easy habits. How do we make them even more ingrained, more automatic, like part of the daily flow?
Okay, that brings us perfectly to the third strategy. Attach it to an existing habit. This is often called habit stacking.
Habit stacking. Okay.
This is incredibly powerful because you're basically piggybacking a new behavior onto a routine you already have firmly established. You don't need to find new motivation or remember something totally new.
Clever. The mechanism is brilliant. You turn the new habit into a natural extension of something you already do without thinking. For example, instead of trying to remember, do push-ups sometime today.
Which never happens.
Right. You could say, after I brush my teeth, I will do 5 push-ups. Brushing teeth is already automatic.
Okay, I see.
Or after I pour my morning coffee, I will write 1 sentence in my journal. The coffee pouring is the anchor.
It's like adding a little side quest to your existing routine.
Exactly. It's like using those existing neural pathways, the well-worn roads in your brain, instead of trying to forge entirely new ones from scratch every time.
That's incredibly smart. It really feels like a neurological cheat code, you know? Using paths that are already there.
Okay, so what's the final piece? What helps really solidify these new habits?
The fourth strategy, and one that's often overlooked but really important, is to celebrate. Like you mean it.
Celebrate, like throw a party.
Well, maybe not a full party for 30 seconds of meditation, but it highlights the critical importance of immediate positive reinforcement.
Okay, tell me more. After you complete your new habit, even the tiny one,
Yeah.
genuinely celebrate. This isn't about being silly. It's pure brain science.
Right.
It could be as simple as saying yes out loud, or giving yourself a little fist bump, maybe a quick goofy dance move, whatever feels genuinely good and authentic to you.
Okay, a fist pump, I can do that.
That celebratory action actually releases dopamine, the brain's reward chemical we talked about.
Back to dopamine.
Exactly. This dopamine hit tells your brain very explicitly, hey, I really like that, let's do it again. It creates a positive feedback loop.
So it's not just about discipline, it's about literally, physiologically rewiring your brain to link the habit with pleasure.
You got it. You're actively training your own brain by giving it that immediate reward signal.
That's fascinating. Tying the physical celebration directly to the neurochemistry that solidifies the habit, it really feels like you are training your own brain.
You are.
And speaking of powerful hacks, our sources mention something they call the most powerful habit hack of all. This sounds big.
It is pretty profound, yeah.
Yeah. It's not just about changing what you do, apparently, but how you fundamentally see yourself. It challenges you, the listener, to consider this shift. Start acting like the person you aspire to become right now. How does that mindset shift change the game so dramatically?
This really is a potential game changer, and it reveals a subtle but absolutely huge difference in the language we use and the mindset we adopt. It reinforces identity.
Okay. How so?
Well, think about it. Instead of saying, I'm trying to quit smoking, which implies struggle and effort against your nature.
Right, like it's a temporary state.
A powerful shift is to say simply, I'm not a smoker, period. This isn't just playing with words. It's a declaration of who you are, what you stand for.
Wow, okay. That feels different.
When habits become intrinsically tied to your identity, they stick so much more effectively because your actions start to align with your internal self-concept. It's not just something you do, it's who you are.
So you're not just going for a run.
You are a runner. You're not just sitting down trying to write.
You are a writer.
Exactly. It fundamentally changes your internal narrative about yourself.
That's incredibly powerful. It completely reframes the whole thing. It's less about forcing yourself with willpower and more about just being who you already believe you are.
Precisely.
So the idea is that habits aren't just actions we perform, but they're like votes for the kind of person you believe you are.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. Every time you perform that habit, you are essentially casting a vote for that identity. You choose, in that moment, to be a consistent person, or a healthy person, or a creative person.
Voting for yourself.
And if you cast enough of these votes for a particular kind of person, your brain actually starts to believe it too. It shifts your self-image.
Okay.
And this internal belief then makes it exponentially easier for those habits to stick and for you to maintain them, because now they align perfectly with your deepest sense of self. So what does this all mean for you, the listener, in your own life?
Yeah.
It means you have so much more agency than just white-knuckling your way through change. You actually have a kind of blueprint for real behavioral transformation.
Okay, so let's quickly recap this deep dive into the science of habits, because we covered a lot.
Yeah, let's tie it together.
We found out that our incredibly efficient brains rely on habits to save energy, basically letting us run on autopilot for, like, 40% of the day.
A huge chunk, yeah.
We decoded that crucial three-part habit loop: trigger, routine, reward, and saw how it orchestrates way more of our actions than we probably realize.
The hidden engine.
We tackled that sticky truth about bad habits. They're so hard to break because, well, they're easy, and they give our brain that immediate, satisfying reward it learns to crave.
That short-term payoff.
But here's the empowering part. You absolutely possess the ability to break those loops and build new ones. You can do it by strategically tweaking the cues.
Making them obvious.
Making the routines ridiculously easy.
Tiny habits.
Stacking them onto existing behaviors.
Piggybacking.
And, crucially, celebrating the small wins.
Yes, that dopamine hit.
Remember, real transformation comes from those tiny changes, stacked cleverly, and those powerful shifts in your own identity.
Exactly. You don't need to become some kind of, productivity monk overnight. That's not the goal.
Right. Please don't.
The biggest takeaway here really is just pick one habit, one thing you truly want to build, and then start embarrassingly small.
Embarrassingly small. I like that permission.
Seriously. Don't underestimate the profound power of those tiny steps, taken consistently, day after day. Your future self will absolutely thank you for starting, even if it feels completely insignificant today.
Because at the end of the day, our habits fundamentally shape our lives, don't they? Our health, our careers, our relationships, just our general happiness.
They really are the foundation.
And maybe the most empowering part, the really profound truth to think about as you go about your day, is that you get to choose them. You actually get to choose the person you're voting to become, one tiny habit at a time.
That's the power right there.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.